High House Production Park, which is established to support International Centre of Excellence for the Creative Industries, and has recently come under the wing of South Essex College, which is fantastic, and has state-of-the-art facilities right on our doorstep. Now, this is the Centre for Digital Technologies, which is due to open in 2021. And I'm aware that Sally is also in the room from South Essex College. So Sally, if you wanted to pitch in at all, do. But the ambition of this facility is to create new state-of-the-art digital technology campus, which will house students working on game design, IT and animation. And if you get a chance later, you're going to get this PowerPoint. Do have a look at the fly-through. It will take you through the entire building, even into the canteen, in a really cute video. So if you get a chance to have a look, do have a look at that. Sally, did you want to say anything else on this one? If you're there.
So I was just unmuting. No, I think you've pretty much covered everything. I mean, for any school careers advisors that are in the room, obviously for students that have started there this year, they're currently at our other sites at the moment, but will be transferring across in January to the new campus. And then with any students that might want to start there next year, it is just level 3 that we're currently running out of this centre, but they can always explore our open evening that we've got this Thursday tomorrow, and speak to the tutors that will be delivering out of that centre come January. Brilliant. So that's all really. Thank you.
Thank you. So the evidence is there that the infrastructure is being built, and digital and the creative economies is one of the critical kind of areas, and the investment is already happening. So how is the sector changing? There are kind of a few key things, and just kind of bearing in mind the pre and post kind of COVID scenarios, but the creative industries have always been ahead of the curve in terms of adopting employment trends before other sectors. 95% of the sector is made up of micro industries, so that's companies that have 10 employees or less and a turnover of 100,000 K per annum or less, including small startups, sole traders, freelancers and entrepreneurs. And these are all really characteristic of Southend. And freelancers made up 44% of the creative industries labour market in our region, which is massive. That's nearly half. So that's just something to take into account. Some of the positive impacts of the COVID pandemic is that the COVID lockdown saw mass movement to remote working, and this meeting is evidence of that, which combined with rising costs in London has seen people leaving the city, driving creative talent eastward into the estuary region. And there's been an explosion of the use of digital across the board, everybody having to adapt to new and finding new ways of working. So there's a massive increase in demand as well around IT support. The negative impacts we can't shy away from. It's been really stark on the cultural sector. They've been hit the hardest than any other sector and will likely take the longest to recover. Artists and creatives had work dry up overnight, and those parts of the sector requiring audiences may never recover or may take many, many years. Having said that, the creative industries also hold the key to economic recovery and to the bounce back. A recently published guide by the Local Government Association says that local creative industries can be the cornerstone of recovery for our communities and local economies from the impact of COVID-19. This sector is used to working remotely. They're used to working digitally. They're used to collaborating, thinking creatively and innovating. And the lack of access to culture during lockdown has really emphasised the importance of culture for people and creativity in people's lives, and is directly linked to their happiness and well-being. So that is a kind of positive outcome of lockdown. And the cultural sector are able to work directly with communities in co-designing what new futures might look like. They're characteristically early colonisers, so they occupy unusual spaces and places. So, for example, empty lots on our high streets. They have the adaptability and the creativity really to lead the bounce back and the economic recovery from lockdown. And also the pandemic has led to an increased awareness about socially important issues such as the environment, well-being, health, population ageing, and culture is widely viewed as having a key role to play in social impact work, raising awareness of complex issues to designing new ways of being in a post-pandemic world. So, for example, how we might redesign our urban environments to support social distancing in the future. So that's a kind of snapshot of where the sector is at the moment, but we want to hone down now into where we actually are. And this is quite a useful website if you haven't seen it before. The Bazaar Index is primarily a web-based project set up as a free database of creative individuals, groups and organisations from living, working or making work in and about Basildon. And these are examples of creative jobs that exist in Basildon, and this is really useful for us too. I imagine this is not exhaustive. It's reflective of the sort of jobs and creative careers that people are working in Southend, and there's probably twice as many. So on here you've got filmmaker, artist, pianist, poet, you've got performers, storytellers, textile artists, architectural designers, graphic designers, curators, and the list goes on. And to give you a little snapshot of these are a sample of jobs that are currently being advertised. So this is from a jobs website, and these are all in the local area. So you've got photography teacher, computer generated imagery artist, lecturer in fashion, media and promotion. You've got a couple of graphic designers, a copywriter, creative copywriter, an e-learning content designer, a creative digital designer, performing arts teacher, digital marketing manager, and an art teacher. So this is a kind of gives you a range of from entry level to quite senior positions. And it's a snapshot of the roles and shows that even in the midst of a pandemic, which is having a massively negative impact on the creative economy, there are still opportunities out there. The majority of these jobs require some sort of digital skills. So that's at the crux of everything. And some of them require really specific experience in software packages. So the CGI is asking for 1 year on Unreal Engine, and the e-learning content designer, for example, is asking for 2 years on Storyline, which are specific digital packages. So that just gives you a flavour of what's currently out there. Now these are, this is about the skills. So one of the questions was, what does people need for the 21st century and for the creative industries? So these are considered to be the 6 C's, which are the critical skills for the 21st century. But they're also critical skills to just being a happy and well-rounded individual. So there's far less emphasis, although it is there, on knowing facts, because ultimately automation will make that redundant, and much more emphasis on competencies and transferable skills. So creativity is at the top, being able to think laterally in interesting, out-of-the-box ways and being able to problem solve. Then you have your content, really understanding your subject well, being able to get under the skin of it. Criticality is being able to think critically, unpack things, hack them, pull them apart, see how they work. Confidence, another really, really important skill, having the confidence in yourself and having the confidence to take risks and not to be afraid of failing. Communication is at the top of every employer's requirements. Every employer being able to articulate and share ideas in lots of different ways is one of the #1 skills. And finally, collaboration, the ability to work successfully with lots of different people in different ways and being able to listen as well as to contribute. And I'm going to add to this, these are my personal top tips. As well for young people, and there'll be more tips from other people as we progress, but informal networks, this is absolutely critical. building the confidence to go out, meet people, and meet people who work in the industry, and you'll be surprised how many people will give time. Seek out networking events and people with the same interests. Get names of key people in organisations and make connections with them. Get the names and recommendations from friends, friends of friends, and family, and get introductions. And treat your peers as your network. However young you are now, one day you'll all be adults working in allied fields. They're your future network, and you knew them when they were on the way up. Nurture your networks, absolutely critical. The other thing is personal brand. So more and more the kind of professional and the personal is becoming blurred through social media. So it's really important that young people are aware of what they're putting out there and what impact that might have on their future careers. So your personal brand is how you promote yourself. It's the unique combination of skills, experience, and personality that you want the world to see. And it's your story. It's something which should be crafted and nurtured, just like your networks. The first thing an employer will do, if you've made an application and they're thinking of shortlisting you, is they will Google you. So it's critical. And oracy skills. So one of the biggest barriers to young people getting on is lack of eloquence. Oracy skills is the ability to articulate ideas, develop understanding and engage with others through spoken language. And employers put good oral communication at the top of all their requirements. And if you haven't heard of it already, there is a project that School 21 in Newham has been engaging with Cambridge University to put these skills into their curriculum. So if you get a chance to look at Voice 21, that they've made it central to their curriculum with these young people, and it's brilliant. The other tip is around live briefs and volunteering. So develop opportunities for your young people to carry out live briefs for your school, your organisation, other organisations and beyond. Briefs for projects that need to happen, which will help young people build their skills. So, for example, what if a group of young people use their design skills to redesign the school newsletter, for example? It's something that needs to be done, and it's a live brief that people can exercise and practice and hone their skills on, and using the 6 C's in collaborating with others to do it. Similarly, encourage them to seek out volunteering opportunities wherever they can and support them in doing that. I may be teaching you to suck eggs here because I'm sure this is all very obvious. Paige is going to give us some insight into local networks and events for your young people as well.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining this morning. I recognise some of your names from our work at Village Green, so it's nice to see you pop up again. I wanted to just run through some of the things happening at the moment. I feel like it's sometimes quite hard to tap into the local network. I grew up here and I found it really helpful just seeing artists work locally. So here's a list of some of the places. I'll just run through them. Some of them you'll recognise and just let you know a bit more about them. So Focal Point Gallery and the big screen Southend, which sits alongside it, is in the Forum. They get quite high profile artists and have amazing shows there. They also have accessible, I think it's a Thursday morning. So if you're working with any SEN students who might need a bit more support, there is an opportunity there to enjoy the shows in a bit more of a relaxed manner. The old Waterworks is in the picture here. So on the right hand side is the Girl Zine Library, which is a collection of around 300 feminist and inclusive zines, which is open to the public to go and view. The old Waterworks has I can't remember how many artists, but it has artist studios and a public space. It's a really good way of finding local artists, and students can always go and chat to them or interview them. They sometimes do drop-ins where you can just go and have a look at an artist's space, and it makes it feel a lot more real in how an artist might work. Similarly, Toma is an alternative MA programme. They have the project space in the Royals Shopping Centre. It's an exhibition space. A new one opened last weekend called The Only Guatemalan Adoptee in Essex. They also have a lot of crits online, which are really useful for any creatives who are trying to figure out their work and just want to get some feedback. The Beecroft Gallery has a lot of shows. It's a big space. And Old Lee Studios There's a couple of potters who are in there. So it's great for sort of anyone interested in craft who might want to see how work can be sold and displayed. The list underneath, so these aren't straightforward exhibition spaces, but all of these organisations run workshops or sharings, artist talks as well. So at Metal we have our artist residencies. A lot of those artists want to work with the community. A lot of them are also particularly keen to work with young artists or students. Create 98 have a wide range of artist-led courses for all ages, and the Net Park Wellbeing Project is run at Metal in Trickle Park in collaboration with Southend Council, and it's a free, supportive, creative programme. Toma, which I've mentioned, the Girls Zine Fair, which you can see in the image. They also have a lot of zine workshops, which is a really nice way of exploring your creativity and meeting other artists. Scotty and Friends, recently they've moved to Southend from London, and it's a theatre company who are also based at TAP and an elite community centre, which I'm sure you all know about. Just a tip that I find is collecting with any artists or any of these spaces on social media is the best way to stay in touch and see what's happening. Certainly at Metal we work quite spontaneously, so when someone's in the house they might suddenly want to do a workshop the next day, and the best way to find out about that is on our Instagram or our Facebook. So I would definitely recommend that teachers and young people connect with the spaces in that way. Andrea, could you click to the next slide? Thank you. Here are some more friendly groups as well. So these are particularly focused on supporting artists in building their confidence and building their skills. Whilst I think it's really great to go and see shows, I also think it's really important for young people to just turn up to things and get their face known. For me, it was really helpful in finding a network here. So I'll just run through this list. Creative Art Essex takes place at Metal.
Sorry to interrupt you, Paige. We are at 9:30, so people might have to drop off now. I don't know how many slides you've got left, if it's okay to just give a quick run through.
Yeah, no problem. Well, these are all self-explanatory. So I know that Andrew's going to send out this PowerPoint to everybody. I'll hand back over to Andrea.
Okay.
Anything? I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay. Okay, just to finish up really quickly, I think it's probably easier for us to send this PowerPoint to people, because we've asked a number of creatives in Southend to give if they had to give one piece of advice, what would it be to young people wanting to join the creative industries, and specifically what they're working in. So there's a number of different stories here, which I'll leave you to read when you get the PowerPoint. But we've got something from Sadie Davidson, who's a poet, slam poet and author. All of these people are in and around Southend. Elsa James, who's an artist, producer and activist. We've got Laura Travai, who is an artist in tech. She has a lovely tip for young people. Mark Massey is a local photographer for any young person wanting to engage in photography. We've got Taylor Swift, who's been doing animation, who's got a short but sweet little tip there. Karina, who's been at East 15, who's an actor, but also part of BLM Southend. And Katie Hasler, who's a local playwright. And finally, there's a little story there, which I definitely will leave you to read in your own time, but do read it. This is from Aaron Shrimpton, who's a local filmmaker. He's dyslexic, but and so he really struggled to write this, but it's really powerful. And he really struggled early in his career, and is now a really well-known, amazing filmmaker. So do have a read of that when you get a chance. And finally, we were asked to add in some information about disability arts organisations. So there's a whole list of organisations there, which are, luckily most of them are in the southeast, and there's one in Liverpool as well, and there's an example of a project that we've been involved in as well. So I'm very aware that we've run over, so I just wanted to say thank you for having us. I'm I'm not sure how to add.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Paige and Andrea. That was really, really interesting. I'll just double check if we've got any questions. People are feel free to drop off if you have to, but we've got one question here from Tracy T. Are there any opportunities for SEND young people to learn creative skills, either for well-being or as a potential employment opportunity?
So I think that it is quite difficult. There are programs like the Net Park Wellbeing, but they're quite small. So the numbers of people that they can take is quite small, and also the people that they're working with are quite vulnerable as well. So it is quite difficult. But the list of organisations that I've put in that slide, that is their focus. That is their remit, is supporting deaf and disabled young people into the creative industry. So that list will be really useful. In terms of local stuff beyond Net Park Wellbeing, I'm not sure. I don't know, Paige, if you know anything more in terms of SEND opportunities.
The only other I can think of is Project 49. I know they have a lot of artists work with them on projects, but maybe not all the time. But it's definitely worth joining their newsletter. And SAVs as well might be good to have some volunteering experience.
But really well-crafted programs and support networks, those lists of organisations will be really helpful.
So thank you very much, Andrew and Paige. That's the only questions we've got in the chat. I'm going to send a recording of this to everybody with all of the resources and the links that Andrew has spoken about. So please do send this to subject teachers who might find it relevant and use for your own resources.